Man, there really is no reason ever for me to come on here and talk about NXT TV the following week after a takeover show. There isn't anything for me to go over. It's just a bunch of highlights from the takeover show and maybe one or two matches that were filmed before NXT takeover. But tonight I feel like I have to because there was a major debut right before takeover that was showed tonight on NXT TV, and that is the debut of War Machine, now going by the name of War Raiders in NXT, Hanson and Rowe. Now, I don't know why WWE wanted to get them on television tonight. The only thing that I can think of is, A, it's in front of a takeover crowd, and that they would get a huge reception because I'm sure all the smart marks in the crowd know who they are. And B, it would have come after the televised main roster debut of the Authors of Pain. Now, the Authors of Pain are not going to be in NXT anymore, and War Raiders are going to be the new dominating team to take their spot in the NXT Tag Team division. That's the only thing that I can think of. So tonight they pretty much beat the shit out of both Sabatelli and Moss and Heavy Machinery. So it looks like we have a new dominating tag team to take the place of the Authors of Pain in NXT. And I'm very excited to see where they go in the NXT Tag Team division. Their theme song sounded pretty beastly as well, with the little clip that we heard as NXT went off the air tonight. As far as anything else that happened on the show, NXT kind of tied up some loose ends with Ember Moon making her main roster debut. You know, they did touch on the fact that Ember Moon will not be getting any sort of revenge on Shayna Baszler in NXT. She will not be going and challenging for the NXT Women's Championship again, as she made her debut on Monday Night Raw. Whether she stays on Monday Night Raw remains to be seen. We really don't know yet. She can end up on SmackDown Live. We don't know with the shakeup coming next week. We also got loose ends tied up as to why the Authors of Pain kind of left Paul Ellering just hanging alone. They told him that they didn't want Ellering to follow them to the main roster. So we got an interview with both Akam and Razor as to why they just left Paul Ellering by ringside as they walked up the ramp after beating Slater and Rhino on Monday Night Raw. We'll go over that as well. So I appreciate those two aspects of what happened this week during WrestleMania week. Also, I was looking for at least a tidbit of information with Roderick Strong turning heel. Definitely one of the biggest and best moments of NXT TakeOver New Orleans. I mean, the match wasn't really anything all that special, but that moment alone was definitely one of the most shocking of the weekend. Roderick Strong turning his back on Pete Dunne and aligning himself with Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and the injured Bobby Fish in Undisputed Era. Just the whole scenario of him breaking up Pete Dunne and his pinfall attempt on Kyle O'Reilly after Pete Dunne hit the bitter end and ruining his tag team's chances of winning not only the Dusty Cup but the tag team titles, and the way he joined the Undisputed Era. Adam Cole was taken out of the match completely. And he was taken out because the Authors of Pain powerbombed him through the Spanish announce table. He was out of the match altogether, and it was just Kyle O'Reilly all by himself. I love the aspect of Roderick Strong turning heel and joining Undisputed Era, and the way that he did it, mixed with the facial expressions of Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, like they didn't know what the fuck was going on. You know, Adam Cole's facial expressions were absolutely on the money. Like you seen the pure joy in his face when Roddy took the armband off of Adam Cole. He put it on his arm, and they just sat there laughing. Not only because they got a new member into the group, but they pretty much retained the tag team championships. It was just a great moment altogether. And I believe Kathy Kelly was backstage during NXT TakeOver, and this was a WWE.com exclusive. Why did Roderick Strong do what he did at NXT TakeOver. What is going on? What is the mindset behind all of this? Roddy simply said, I got this. And he whispered something into Adam Cole's ear, and then all four of them went into their locker room without saying a damn thing. They didn't say anything about why Roddy betrayed Pete Dunne and why he joined Undisputed Era. I'm sure we're going to be getting that as we get ready for the next set of NXT tapings, which happened tonight, and we'll find out what happened next week. But I love that aspect, man. Definitely one of my favorite moments of the entire weekend. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. We don't know what's going on with Ciampa right now, but we do know Johnny Gargano is going to be on NXT TV next week, and he's going to address the live crowd, and it will be his return home. He beat Ciampa at NXT TakeOver New Orleans, and he is going to speak. I believe they did mention Candice LeRae will be there, and he's going to speak to the NXT audience about finally coming back home to NXT. And I know Daniel Bryan mentioned that fan access this past weekend, that if there's one guy from NXT he wants on SmackDown Live, this is when he was still GM, before Paige was announced as a new GM. Daniel Bryan said, if there's one guy in NXT I want on the main roster for SmackDown Live, it is Johnny Gargano. And I love the fact that Johnny Gargano came out on Twitter and said, I appreciate Daniel Bryan's, desire to have me on SmackDown Live, but there are a few things that I need to get done in NXT after I take Tommaso Ciampa and just teach him a lesson at NXT TakeOver New Orleans. So I'm hoping that we do see Johnny Gargano in the NXT World Championship title hunt. I would love to see him finally achieve that goal, man. That is a moment that, it's something that I say, and it's something that I've stated coming out of Philadelphia. It's very tough to watch that match back, and I've watched that match back a handful of times with Almas at Philadelphia. Watching that over and over and over again, it's just so difficult to not give him the championship in that spot. But with what we've seen following that and what we've seen going into New Orleans with Ciampa and how the NXT Championship situation ended up now being on Aleister Black, I don't really mind what NXT did in Philadelphia. I just hope that they have it in the back of their minds that Johnny Gargano deserves that moment. And I hope that we do get that some point in 2018. But NXT TV is shaping up to be can't miss, as always, next week. I'm very much looking forward to that. As far as Almas and Black, they really didn't go over anything. We all expected Almas to be on SmackDown Live. I want to see him on SmackDown Live. I really do. I think him on the main roster presents a whole bunch of great scenarios. But I can honestly see with what a lot of you guys stated to me on Twitter, Almas might not be done with the NXT Championship. I think they get one more match out of him and Aleister Black. They might give him the rematch. He deserves it, right? Everybody but the Usos, everybody but Orton, Rude, and Mahal, right? Or Randy Orton. Never mind the other two. Randy Orton, they didn't get their rematch clauses in effect following WrestleMania. Those two parties had to fight their way back into championship contention, while Roman Reigns gets a world championship match for doing absolutely nothing. He gets a world championship match at the Greatest Royal Rumble for losing. So I would like to see, if they're not going to bring Almas up to the main roster next week with the shakeup, I'd like to see another match with him and Black. I think they did a great job in New Orleans, and I'd like to see a rematch definitely between those two before we get Almas called up. And then, honestly, I'd love to see Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black fight over the NXT Championship. I think that would absolutely tear the house down. So, hopefully, NXT has plans for Gargano, like I said, but I do think they'll get at least one more match with Almas and Aleister Black, probably taking place at NXT TakeOver Chicago. Or I could be wrong. I don't know. I really don't know. Drew McIntyre could make his return to NXT. He's owed a rematch because he lost to Almas. He never got his rematch clause invoked. And he's already stated that he wants to come back and he wants another shot at the NXT Championship. I thought we'd see him on SmackDown Live. So the NXT World Championship situation, man, could be a little hairy coming up in the next couple of weeks. We got Almas. Black is the champion. Drew McIntyre could potentially make his return. I'd like to see Johnny Gargano involved. So we'll see what happens, man. A lot of good things coming up in NXT. And even with, No Way Jose, who was easily expendable, Authors of Pain being replaced by the team of Hanson and Rowe, War Raiders, Ember Moon being called up to the main roster, and Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, who really weren't doing much of anything. NXT is still very well off. Peyton Royce and Billie Kay weren't doing anything. Authors of Pain, you kind of knew their time was up in NXT. Ember Moon, I will miss in NXT. She was one of my favorite parts of the women's division down there, but, that only moves Kairi Sane up. That only moves Bianca Belair up. And No Way Jose, he wasn't even on television for a good, 9 months? Maybe? So he wasn't really doing much of anything. So putting him on the main roster really isn't going to do any harm to NXT. So NXT is still very, very, very well off. They have a mountain of talent. So 2018, man, coming out of WrestleMania, still looking good for NXT. Those are my quick thoughts on everything. As far as the show tonight, we had Kairi Sane versus Lacey Evans, and we had War Raiders make their debut against Heavy Machinery and the team of Sabatelli and Moss. The show opened up with Kairi Sane and Lacey Evans. You guys know how I feel about Lacey Evans, man. She was in the Mae Young Classic. She's gotten a lot better from the Mae Young Classic. I will say that. She looked good in the match with Kairi Sane. But there's just something about her theme music that I can't stand. It's very cringe. It's like when Liv Morgan was down in NXT. Her theme music just kind of pissed me the fuck off. Lacey Evans doesn't really do much for me as far as her gimmick and her character. She's the lady of NXT. But she did wrestle a very good match with Kairi Sane. And she just doesn't have that it factor to me. I don't know what it is about Lacey Evans, man. She doesn't have that it factor as far as the women go in NXT. And I don't think she generates any buzz at all. So she has a lot of work to do just based on that aspect. Kairi Sane, I expect big things out of her later on in the year. I think with Shayna Baszler winning the NXT Women's Championship from Ember Moon, I think we're going to get Kairi Sane positioned next. I hope so. For the NXT Women's Championship. It seems like ever since she won the Mae Young Classic, they put her in that Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Women's Championship towards the end of 2017, and she really hasn't done anything of importance. And I know it's all about timing, it's all about positioning, but I hope, it's time to position, and I hope it's the right time for Kairi Sane to be moved up to some championship-level matches with Shayna Baszler. How those matches end up, I don't know, because I really don't have a lot of faith in Shayna Baszler as champion. I know WWE wanted to strap the Rocket Pack to Shayna Baszler, but I don't think she's ready for that yet. She has all the potential in the world to be ready for that. I just don't think giving her the title, after debuting 3 months ago is the right idea. But that's what WWE did. I hope she is a fast learner. What we seen from her at New Orleans against Ember Moon was very impressive, even though she's still kind of green in the ring. I hope she gets it together, and I'd like to see a competitive match with Kairi Sane, culminating Kairi Sane winning the title in Brooklyn, SummerSlam weekend. That's my logic behind the women's division and where they go. And then Bianca Belair can slide on right in there, and we could see Bianca Belair and Kairi Sane for the NXT Women's Championship, and I think that's what's going to be towards the end of 2018. I could be wrong, but Bianca Belair right now hasn't suffered a loss in NXT. They have featured her pretty decently on television so far this year, and right now Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler looks to be the match for the NXT Women's title. But in this match, Lacey Evans got some offense in. There was a stiff backhand by Kairi Sane. That stiff backhand, man, my God, she knocked Lacey Evans out fucking cold. And as soon as that happened, she went to the top rope. She dropped the big elbow drop, 1, 2, 3. And Kairi Sane wins via pinfall over Lacey Evans. Like I said, Kathy Kelly talked with all 4 members of the Undisputed Era after they retained the NXT Tag Team titles and Adam Cole winning the North American Championship. Kelly asked a question about Roderick Strong joining the group, and Roderick Strong said something to Cole, whispered something in his ear, and then they all left and retreated back to their locker room without giving her a solid answer. So I hope we get an answer sometime in the next couple of weeks on NXT television, because I'd love to know why Roddy did what he did and what the reasoning behind it was after all this time contemplating when Adam Cole originally asked him to join late last year. So we don't know what the reasoning is. I'm very interested to know what he has to say. Now, coming out of NXT TakeOver New Orleans, the fact that Pete Dunne has been betrayed, I think we could see. It's going to be a different feel in Chicago this year. Remember last year we had Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate in the match of the year for WWE for the UK Championship in Chicago, NXT TakeOver Chicago. I think this year is going to be a lot different. I think instead of being on the opposite side of the ring, battling one another, we're going to see Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne on the same team going into NXT TakeOver Chicago. I think it's going to be Trent Seven, Pete Dunne, and Tyler Bate against Roderick Strong, Adam Cole, and Kyle O'Reilly in a big six-man tag for NXT TakeOver Chicago. Now, they could do that, and they could hold off on Adam Cole's first title defense, or they could do that match as a big main event attraction for NXT television before TakeOver. Meanwhile, Adam Cole is being positioned to defend his North American Championship, possibly against Ricochet. I don't know, man. I'd like to see, first of all, I would have loved to see Velveteen Dream win the title. I think Velveteen Dream and Ricochet would have been a great feud for the North American Championship. But coming out of TakeOver, I mean, who would you want Adam Cole to feud with more, Velveteen Dream or Ricochet? I think those two kind of are pretty much just waiting in the wings just to collide with one another. I just see money in that match right there. So we could possibly see that for Chicago. And then we get the six-man tag a couple of weeks before TakeOver. So I don't know, man. Either way you want to swing it, I think we're going to get, some UK Strong style against Undisputed Era eventually, thanks to what Roderick Strong did. But we didn't get anything as far as an explanation goes. Hope we get it in the next couple of weeks. Authors of Pain debuted on Monday Night Raw. As you guys know, they beat Slater and Rhino. Mike Rome, in a WWE.com exclusive, spoke with the tag team and asked why they left Paul Ellering. They said it's not about Paul, it's about who they just crushed on Raw. Ellering shows up and then asks both Akam and Razor what they're doing. He developed the team that won the Dusty Classic. He developed the plans for this team to win the NXT Tag Team Championships. And then Akam and Razor said that they respected what Ellering did for them, but the Ellering chapter is closed. A new chapter needs to be written here on Monday Night Raw. So, I don't know what Ellering is going to do. We all kind of assumed that Ellering wasn't going to be traveling with the Authors of Pain being on the main roster because the traveling schedule for the main roster, obviously, you guys know, is different than NXT. I'd love to see Ellering take on a new tag team in NXT. Maybe they put Ellering with War Raiders. I don't know. Maybe he finds a new team, a new dominating team to lead to championship gold in NXT. It could be War Raiders. It could be somebody else completely. It could be the Ely brothers. I don't know if you guys seen the Ely brothers, but they have, and I'm not a big fan of them yet, but they have a great fucking look. Maybe you could put Paul Ellering with the Ely brothers, because War Raiders might not need Paul Ellering. You put them with Ellering, the Ely brothers, and I think you have a legit fucking tag team just based on name recognition alone. Because you're going to need more tag teams in NXT. You got some pretty decent teams in NXT right now. You got Undisputed Era. You can have a mixture of the UK guys. You got Mustache Mountain. You got Sabatelli and Marsh. You got Heavy Machinery. You got War Raiders. You got Street Profits. You got TM61. They're not short of tag teams, but I'd like to see Ellering stick around. And there's really nobody else that you can put him with. Possibly, like I said, War Raiders. Or maybe you could take two relatively unknowns who haven't been featured on TV all that much, who need something to do, and you can transcend the career with Paul Ellering. Put him with the Ely brothers. I don't know, man. Let me know what you guys think about that. We have Shayna Baszler. She was interviewed by Kayla Braxton about the NXT Women's Championship victory over Ember Moon at TakeOver New Orleans. Shayna Baszler said, "This is not a bandwagon, this is a war wagon," and she knows who had supported her before she won the title, and she knows who didn't. She was asked about Ronda Rousey, and her WrestleMania weekend, and Baszler says they are just going to do what they always do. As champion, Baszler says she's here to wrestle. So Ember Moon then was interviewed by Mike Rome, after her win against Alexa Bliss and Mickie James with Nia Jax on Monday Night Raw. He asked, how does it feel to be on Monday Night Raw? And Ember Moon says that she's happy and is ready to start a new chapter on Raw. Rome then asked about Moon not being able to get a rematch against Shayna Baszler. And Moon says she just feels about leaving that monster with the rest of the NXT roster. But Ember Moon is excited to get her new chapter started in Monday Night, or on Monday Night Raw with WWE. Next week, they announced Lars Sullivan versus Killian Dane. Hopefully, no interruptions here, and we get two fucking trains colliding, causing a massive train wreck on NXT television. Heavy Machinery versus Tino Sabatelli and Riddick Moss. Fun fact here. If you guys recall at WrestleMania, Charlotte made her queen-like entrance, and she had armored knights with her during her WrestleMania entrance. Two of the three knights were indeed Tino Sabatelli and Riddick Moss. Remember when Triple H made his, I believe it was, which entrance was it? Was it the one at WrestleMania 32? Or was it the one in Santa Clara at WrestleMania 31 when he came out with Sting? I think he used Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha as props during his entrance. I think it was at 32. I could be mistaken. But, that could be a good sign for Sabatelli and Moss, man. I like them as a tag team. I think they are very good together, and I hope they got big things coming for themselves in NXT. They went against Heavy Machinery, man. Always entertaining is Otis Dojovic, and we have Tucker Knight. This one didn't really go anywhere because we had the War Raiders come out, and they laid waste to both teams. Otis was doing the worm, got a big elbow pin. Moss breaks up the pin on Sabatelli. Knight back in with a double clothesline. All four men down. Out come War Raiders. A huge War Machine chant by the crowd because the crowd knew who they were, so they were chanting their old tag team name. But Mauro Ranallo, was updating everybody via commentary that they are the War Raiders in NXT, and then we had the graphic show up on the Titantron. Indeed, their name is War Raiders. They destroy both teams. They swing away and destroy everyone in the ring. Hanson is picked up by his partner and is tossed into Moss. All four men are down. Hanson heads up to the top rope. Leg drop slam combination on Sabatelli as their music hits and NXT goes off the air. So the NXT Tag Team Division sees the loss of one monster team and is easily replenished with another, man. They're going to be a dominating force in the NXT Tag Team Division. And that is your NXT review, man. Not much to go over, but I wanted to come on here because of the debut of the War Raiders tonight for NXT and the Tag Team Division. Quickly, guys, I want to thank everybody for a great WrestleMania week. Everything from Off the Script to WrestleMania Review, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live. You guys absolutely slayed it this weekend. We are nearing 91,000, only 9,000 away from 100. And I want to thank everybody for your continued love and support. I hope that you guys remain with me on this journey. I am absolutely nowhere near fucking done, man. We are here to conquer the fucking world, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I am definitely going to fill you guys in on some major happenings. We got some big shit happening this summer. I am in communication with the fine people over at Wrestle Rumble for a major event in Pittsburgh. So if you guys are in the Pittsburgh area and you want to hang out with me, information to come. JD is coming to Pittsburgh in July. It looks like July right now. If things that I have discussed with my parties happen, it looks good right now, I will be in Pittsburgh. So if you guys are in the Pittsburgh area and you want to hang out with me, mark it on your calendars, man. Keep an eye open and keep an ear out because I'm coming to Pittsburgh this July for Extreme Rules. So keep an eye out for that. More information to come. Thank you guys for all the support over the videos, man. If you guys missed anything, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, WrestleMania, you guys can go check that out. I know I've gotten a lot more hate than usual because of my views and my stance and my opinions on wrestling, but it doesn't bother me, man. You guys can call me every name in the fucking book. You guys can say that I'm negative. You guys can say that I have absolutely nothing positive to say. Clearly, those people do not watch me, and they only see what they read on Twitter. But if you guys come on Wednesday and you see my NXT reviews, you guys know I am overly positive about the NXT product, and this is exactly what I want wrestling to be. You know, I don't want my intelligence to be insulted, and I want to watch something that makes me feel good. Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live don't make me feel good. And then you get the people that say, well, if you don't like it, don't watch it. The Braves have sucked for over a decade. I have not stopped watching the Atlanta Braves. I'm not going to stop watching something because it sucks. If I'm unhappy with something, I'm going to tell you why I'm unhappy about it, and I'm going to give you every possible fucking reason within logic why I don't like it. And that's exactly what I do every week. So everybody that says, well, if you don't like it, don't watch it, you can suck the tip of my dick. Okay? Simple as that. Other than that, we're going to continue doing what we do, man. WrestleMania week is over. Off the Script should be a fucking barn burner this weekend, man, because a lot of Roman Reigns news. And you guys know how I operate when we talk about Roman Reigns. We got to get ready for the greatest Royal Rumble now, and, you know, you guys don't want to be sick with the Roman Reigns news, but prepare to be ill on Friday. WWE's latest agenda might make you the most sick you've ever been when it comes to Roman Reigns. So we'll talk about that on Friday. I might push out a couple of off-the-script extras tomorrow. Some minor news stories that I won't talk about on Off the Script because they're not big enough, but we might get some videos out tomorrow. Other than that, man, thank you guys for everything. Hit that thumbs up. Follow me on Twitter at JDFROMNY206. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell for notifications, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for more content right here on the channel, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this short but impromptu NXT TV review, and we'll be back next week with NXT as they progress storylines as we get ready for NXT TakeOver Chicago Money in the Bank weekend. I'll talk to you guys later.